Welcome, devoted connoisseurs of the macabre, to DeVanished Realms. Tonight, we journey into a nightmare made flesh, a horror that didn't lurk in the shadows of folklore, but walked among us, cloaked in paint and a grotesque smile. If you're new to our descent into the darkest corners of true crime, mysteries, and real-life horror, then now is the time. Take a moment, right now, to silence those unsettling whispers in your mind and hit that subscribe button. Join our growing legion of truth seekers and ensure you never miss another chilling exploration. Ring the notification bell and be prepared to confront the most unsettling truths the world has to offer. The year was 1978. For the unsuspecting residents of Norwood Park, a quiet suburb of Chicago, John Wayne Gacy was a pillar of the community. A successful contractor, a devoted volunteer, a loving husband and father, a man who embodied the American dream. He threw elaborate parties for his neighbors, charmed politicians, and even donned a clown costume, becoming Pogo or Patches for children's hospital visits and local parades. He was the friendly, jovial neighbor, the kind of man you'd trust with your kids. But beneath this meticulously crafted facade of normalcy and joviality, a monstrous evil festered. For years, Gacy had been leading a horrifying double life, transforming from the beloved clown into a predator, a torturer, and a serial killer of unimaginable depravity. His story is not just a tale of murder. It's a chilling psychological profile of a man who mastered deception, a master manipulator who exploited trust, and a true-life horror that forever tainted the innocence of the clown. John Wayne Gacy was born in 1942 in Chicago. His childhood, by many accounts, was marred by an abusive, alcoholic father and a troubled adolescence. He struggled with his sexuality, battling internal demons that would later manifest in a terrifying and deadly manner. After a period of initial trouble, including an arrest for sodomy in Iowa in the late 1960s, Gacy moved back to Chicago. He cleaned up his act, started a successful construction business, and seemed, to all outward appearances, to be a reformed man. It was in the basement of his unassuming home at 8213 West Summerdale Avenue that Gacy truly built his realm of terror. This was no ordinary basement. It was a tomb, a torture chamber, a final resting place for dozens of young men and boys whose lives he brutally extinguished. Between 1972 and 1978, Gacy murdered at least 33 victims. Most of them were young, male runaways or prostitutes, often picked up from bus stations or street corners, drawn in by Gacy's false promises of work, money, or a place to stay. Gacy would lure his victims back to his house, where he would incapacitate them, often with trickery, such as a handcuff trick that was part of his clown act. He subjected them to horrific torture and sexual assault before strangling them to death. The sheer audacity of his crimes was chilling. He didn't hide in the shadows. He operated in plain sight, living a seemingly normal life, even as bodies piled up beneath his floorboards. The disappearance of Robert Piest, a 15-year-old high school student who vanished on December 11, 1978, after telling his mother he was meeting a man about a job, marked the beginning of Gacy's downfall. Piest was last seen talking to Gacy, who promised him work. Robert's parents, alarmed, contacted the police. And this time, something felt different. Detectives investigating Piest's disappearance quickly focused on Gacy. His erratic behavior, evasive answers, and a growing unease surrounding his property began to raise red flags. A search warrant was obtained, and on December 21, 1978, police entered Gacy's house. What they found would shock the nation and send shivers down the spine of anyone who heard the tale. The stench was unbearable, a putrid, unmistakable odor of decay. After days of methodical searching, aided by cadaver dogs, police began to uncover the gruesome truth. One body, then another, then more. Buried beneath the floorboards, in a crawl space so shallow that some bodies were almost touching the joists above, were the remains of Gacy's victims. The discovery was a slow, agonizing revelation of horror. The bodies were so tightly packed, so meticulously concealed, that it took weeks to fully excavate the crawl space. 26 bodies were ultimately recovered from Gacy's property. He also admitted to discarding 4 bodies in the Des Plaines River and claimed 3 others were buried elsewhere. The final count, 33 young lives brutally extinguished by one man. John Wayne Gacy was arrested and charged with the murders. His trial, which began in February 1980, was a media sensation. The public struggled to reconcile the image of Pogo the Clown with the monster who had committed such unspeakable atrocities. The prosecution laid out a meticulous case, detailing the gruesome murders and the chilling pattern of Gacy's deception. Gacy's defense team argued for insanity, claiming he suffered from multiple personality disorder. However, the prosecution successfully portrayed him as a cold, calculating, and fully aware killer who meticulously planned and executed his crimes. He was found guilty on all 33 counts of murder. On March 13, 1980, John Wayne Gacy was sentenced to death. For 14 years, Gacy languished on death row. During this time, he continued to paint, creating a macabre collection of artworks, many depicting clowns, a chilling reminder of his public persona. He maintained a strange, almost jovial demeanor, often giving interviews, and even appearing to enjoy the notoriety. He was executed by lethal injection on May 10, 1994, bringing a partial closure to the horrific saga. The legacy of John Wayne Gacy is complex and deeply unsettling. He is one of America's most prolific serial killers, and his crimes forever changed the perception of clowns, turning a symbol of joy into an icon of terror. The killer clown trope in popular culture found its grim genesis in the real-life horrors committed by Gacy. But beyond the sensational headlines and the cultural impact lies the true horror. The 33 young lives that were senselessly extinguished. The families and friends who were left to grapple with unimaginable grief and the chilling knowledge that their loved ones met such a brutal end at the hands of a man who charmed the community. The Gacy case also highlighted critical failures in the system, the inability to connect missing persons reports, the ease with which a cunning predator could operate unnoticed, and the psychological complexity of a killer who could compartmentalize such heinous acts from his public life. John Wayne Gacy wasn't a monster from a fairy tale. He was a man, a neighbor, a Pogo the Clown, who meticulously constructed a facade to conceal the unspeakable evil within. His story remains a chilling testament to the darkness that can lurk beneath the most ordinary surfaces, a true-life horror that reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we invite into our homes. He embodied the ultimate betrayal of trust, leaving behind a legacy of pain, fear, and a haunted crawl space. The story of John Wayne Gacy is a stark reminder that true horror isn't confined to the silver screen. It lives in the dark annals of history. If this descent into the chilling true crime of the killer clown captivated and disturbed you, then ensure you're a part of the DeVanished Realms community. We unravel new true crime, mysteries, and real-life horror stories every week, venturing into the forgotten, the feared, and the profoundly unsettled. Hit that subscribe button, join our growing family of truth seekers, and prepare for your next journey into the darkness. Until next time, stay vigilant. And remember, some smiles hide the most terrifying secrets.